I have said I am sorry so many times now. You know everything, but you keep on bringing up the same stuff over and over and over again. Why can't we just move forward? What is the point in bringing up what I did over and over again? Are you going to be like this forever? Do you ever think of those things? Are you ever having those words come out of your mouth in the midst of the chaos and the aftermath of betrayal? Well, today, if you are the one who has been unfaithful, you've probably said those words quite a bit to your spouse because they're asking the same questions over and over and over again, and you just want to move forward. What do you do with all of this? Well, today on Beauty Beyond Betrayal, I'm going to help you with just that. Today's episode is for the unfaithful spouse. Hey, beautiful. Welcome to Beauty Beyond Betrayal. Have you discovered your husband's been having an affair? Do you just want the pain to stop and be able to take a deep breath again? Do you find yourself up late at night Googling how to save your marriage, heal from an affair? Do you wake up with the hope that this nightmare would end only to feel crushed and humiliated because your husband acts like the affair was really your fault and now you're left obsessing with where he is and if he's seeing her again? Hey, I'm Lisa. I too was devastated when I discovered my husband was having an affair. I too felt the pain would never end and wished he would just stop the affair and we could restore our marriage. I wanted the weight of the trauma to be lifted so I could breathe again and be able to have someone, anyone help me climb out of the dark, miry pit of despair so I could begin to heal and be confident in me again. But I kept telling myself, he won't stop seeing her. Must have been my fault. And this pain, it'll never go away. Until I found hope and healing in Christ, along with simple techniques that helped me to learn how to recover from the betrayal. In this podcast, you'll discover what betrayal trauma really is, learn simple techniques to heal and recover, and get biblical guidance to help you make the right choices as you heal from the affair so you can be free from the heartbreak and the pain and rise in confidence once again to be the woman God created you to be. So beautiful, grab your favorite latte or a glass of wine, snuggle up on the couch and focus on yourself for a few minutes. Let's dive into what it really means to rise up from the ashes of betrayal and loss into a life that you really desire. Welcome back to the show. You know, sometimes we just need to be able to flip the script a little bit and speak to the unfaithful, the one who has had the affair or is involved in pornography, has a sexual addiction, so that you know how to navigate things when you are seeking reconciliation with your spouse. You've hurt them, you've wounded them, and they are coming at you from all sides. They're asking you the same questions over and over and over again. They keep bringing up the same stuff over and over again. You're sitting there going, why can't we just move forward? Why can't we pick up the pieces and just move forward? Let's go. However, it's not working. You also sit there and say, what is the point of revisiting this all over again? Is it really going to be this way forever? Well, today we're going to help you with just that. I know how hard it is because at one point I was the betrayer. And if you haven't listened to that episode, you need to. I might even refresh it for you. But I was the betrayer at the age of 25. And I know that when it comes to having an affair and the aftermath of the affair, there is chaos. You see, there's the discovery. We have D-Day. They find out everything. Now your secrets are exposed. Now it seems like the whole world, everything that you've been hiding for such a long time is up on the big screen. Now, one part of you feels relieved because that dump truck of deceit, lies, secrets, everything you've been hiding has been now dumped out. And it's not so heavy anymore. So for you, there's a little bit of ease going on. But for your spouse, well, you just dumped all of that on them, and they are in the process of digging themselves out. So your recovery process is very different from your spouse's recovery process. So let's back up. D-Day has happened. They found out everything. Now there is shock, anger, sadness, rage, crying, fits, maybe throwing things, yelling, screaming. I mean, you get the picture. You've been there, done that, right? And many times there is a disconnect between how you experience things and how you want to move forward compared to your spouse's. You see, there are two stories at play here. The betrayed partner, your spouse, and then you, the one who's been unfaithful. Both of you need to and must be able to tell your stories. A bridge must first be built as your spouse, the one who's been betrayed, comes to terms with the discovery of your unfaithfulness. So how in the world do you begin to navigate this? How do you wade through the miry pit of betrayal? Can you survive it? Is the quicksand going to engulf you? Or is there a lifeline that someone can throw you so you can actually get out of it? Is there a right way or is there a wrong way to do it? And how do you know whether or not you're healing or whether or not your spouse is healing? And is there even hope? Well, what I want you to know is right after the discovery of your unfaithfulness, most enter into what's called the crisis phase. And this phase is the first one that must be resolved before any forward movement can occur. This is like the first stop. Think of it this way. You have been driving your vehicle very carelessly, and your spouse has been in the passenger side, and you started speeding at high rates, and you wrapped that vehicle around a tree. You injured both yourself and your spouse, and both of you are critically injured. You both are bleeding out. You are in a crisis phase, and the first thing that needs to take place is the bleeding needs to be stopped. This is the phase that has to be addressed first. You can't move forward without stopping the bleeding, without stopping that bleed out, without establishing what we call safety once again. Now, for those couples who choose to even attempt to recreate a story together, how this crisis phase is handled by you, the one who's been unfaithful, can either bring calm to the crisis or actually increase the distress of the crisis. Now, I get it. It's a very confusing stage, and while every couple is different, there are some general ideas that I can bring to you today that can help. So what I want to do is share with you some of those ideas. And then you can kind of go through them and see how they can help you as the one who is the unfaithful to kind of help navigate the chaos in the crisis of betrayal. So grab your pen and paper because this one is worth taking notes on. Number one is this: acknowledge. The first thing you have to do is acknowledge how your actions have deeply wounded your spouse. You have hurt your spouse in the most worst way. You've betrayed their trust. They loved you with everything that they are. They gave you their heart. They gave you their life, their relationship, and you took it and basically walked right over it. You shattered it into a million pieces. And you first have to acknowledge that pain. You have to acknowledge the amount of pain that your spouse is experiencing. What they are feeling is traumatic. It is real and it is painful. It can't be something that's just pushed under the rug, set aside, and just walked past. You can't just move on from it, so to speak. It has to be faced and it has to be worked through. There is a path through the pain, but you must go through it. So you have to first acknowledge. And believe it or not, You're going to be doing this over and over and over again. And you need to do that more times than you feel that it is necessary. They need for you to acknowledge what you've done. They need for you to acknowledge the pain that they are feeling, that you recognized. They've been traumatized by your actions. Now is not the time to provide reasoning, justification, explanations as to why the affair occurred or why you've been watching pornography. That's not what your spouse needs right now. The time for insight and being able to explain some things, it does come, but not right now. Your spouse can't even begin to hear your story when they are being swept away in all the emotional upheaval that comes with betrayal. So the very first thing that you can help them with is to acknowledge what you've done. Take full responsibility, own it, repent of it, have true remorse, and then recognize by acknowledging the pain that they are experiencing, the trauma that they are going through. Okay, number 2 is this. Understand. You need an understanding heart. Understand that your spouse is rapidly shifting mood to mood. They are going up one minute, down the next, over to the side, underneath. They are doing circles and flips, and it's all over the place. The mood swings are everywhere. And you need to know that this is normal. It's absolutely normal. What really pains me is when I hear of a therapist or a coach that's not trauma informed that comes back and says, oh, your spouse, the one who's betrayed, oh, they're narcissistic or they have a personality disorder. But the truth is, did they always have that? Has that kind of mood swing been there ever since they were a child? Well, if so, then we might be looking at a diagnosis. If not, then what you're dealing with is trauma due to betrayal. And it's normal. The wound of a revealed affair or sexual addiction or pornography use, it is like a knife to the heart. It strikes at the very core of your spouse's sense of reality. It has shaken their reality. What they thought reality was isn't. And their whole world has imploded. Their identity is now at stake. They question who they are, and they have no safety or stability. And these responses are, again, a trauma response. This new reality attacks their memories, so it hits their past, their present, and their future. Because once again, what they thought their past with you was like actually wasn't. The present is affected, and so is the future. So it actually attacks their memories, every part of their life. And what your spouse thought was real, they now see it as a complete, total lie. So all of these strong emotions surge, and the survival part of their brain takes over. They go into what's called fight or flight. They're fighting for their life. They feel like they are in immediate danger. And right now, there is little to no control over these changing emotions. One minute they're going to be up and down, and the next they're going to be crying and yelling and screaming and throwing things, and all of it is normal. And one minute they might feel hopeful. The next, you might see them in the floor, in the corner, just crying uncontrollably, questioning their very existence. The more that you can sit with your spouse's experience of what they're going through, the more you aid in the healing process. And listen, this helps you heal as well. It helps you to develop what is called empathy, and we'll get to that in a minute. The third one is initiate. Now, you need to recognize that your spouse is going to experience a great deal, and I mean a great deal of fear. They're going to be scared. They don't know what the future holds. They don't know anything right now because, again, past, present, and future has been affected. And they're going to be very sensitive. They're going to get triggered very easily. They're going to have these thoughts that are going to run like a movie reel in their head, and they are going to feel crazy at times. And rather than waiting on your spouse to initiate conversations with you about things, well, if you see and recognize a change in their emotional state, you see them 1 minute they're laughing, 1 minute they're crying, 1 minute they're sad, 1 minute they're angry, then speak up. Act upon it. Now, I don't mean manipulate them, gaslight them, try to sweep it under the rug, try to invalidate their emotions and feelings and tell them that they shouldn't be feeling that way and they shouldn't have that thought process. And no. Don't go there. Don't go there. But engage in a very compassionate way. Demonstrate to them that you're willing to show up for them, that yes, you recognize what you've done and it is horrific, but now you are seeking to make amends. You are doing the recovery work and you want to help them in their recovery, even if that means you might have to face more anger and accusations from them. Yes, even if that means that you serve as a punching bag right now. I don't mean literally. Nobody should be hitting anybody here. But I mean, they might get angry at you and yell at you and accuse you and be willing to take a little bit of that backlash right now because they are wounded and traumatized terribly. If it is around a particular trigger, let's talk about that really quick. Maybe your phone dings and all of a sudden you notice that your spouse looks at you and they look like a deer in the headlights. That's a trigger. They have recognized that you had been texting the affair person or using your phone for pornography, and it is triggering them. It is traumatizing them. It is reminding them of the truth of what they have found out. Well, what you need to do is you need to stop and acknowledge that. Reassure them that, look, you can look at my phone. There's nothing going on here. Let them know immediately of anything that has the potential of upsetting them. It would be better for you to be honest and transparent than for them to find out later on down the road that you lied once again. I know you might be sitting there saying, well, I don't want to tell them the whole truth because that'll hurt too much. Well, if you keep the secrets and you don't tell them the truth, it's going to hurt worse. So it's better for you to be honest up front. So be upfront, be willing to face and initiate the tough, hard conversations. This will relieve your spouse of the burden of more discovery. Be honest, be transparent. It begins to build a bridge between the two of you when you do this. It brings back a sense of confidence to your spouse, the one who's been so hurt. And it helps to calm fears around ongoing secret keeping. They're waiting for the shoe to drop all the time. So it would be best for you to be proactive instead of reactive. Okay, the next one is perspective. Now, just know this, that your spouse is going to have a ton of questions. They are. Now, most likely, they're going to want to ask you a lot of questions and ask you over and over and over and over again. And sometimes these questions, they're going to catch you off guard. They're not meant to, but they're going to catch you off guard. And these questions are not meant to catch you in a lie. Remember, your spouse is seeking truth. They've just found out that they've been in the middle of a lie that they didn't even know about. You have been deceptive, and that's rocked their world. So they are seeking answers to these questions, seeking perspective, so to speak, so that they can find truth. Their brain is scanning and assessing the environment for truth, and you need to help them with that. The questions that your spouse is asking you, they are attempting to create a new narrative, a new story of the past, because their past, the reality as they knew it, is no more, and they're just trying to make sense of it now. Now, you've known of the different reality for a while now, but they didn't. And remember that. They're struggling with the awareness that what they believe to be true of the past actually isn't true. So they need to be able to ask questions. Now, I will throw this in here. I'm a firm believer that one of the best ways to get all questions answered is through a full therapeutic disclosure. That is the best way, because instead of drip disclosure, which is like waterboarding, it's like torture to your spouse who has been betrayed. Because every time you drip information, it's opening that wound over and over and over again. So it's better to get it one and done. And if you need help on a full disclosure process, down below in the show notes where it says work with me, click on that and you can find out how I can help you and your spouse through the full disclosure process. Yes, I help couples with this, and it is one of the most effective tools to help couples who are seeking to recover in the aftermath of betrayal. All right, let's look at the last one. The last one is empathy. Well, for you as the one who's been unfaithful, there are probably a mix of emotions that you have. Now, you are probably feeling relief because the secrets are out. You're not having to hide anything anymore. But then you're also on the flip side probably feeling a lot of guilt because of what you've done, because you've been found out. Then there's shame. Then there's hurt, condemnation, probably loss of identity, resignation, and a whole host of other emotions that you yourself could be experiencing. But what you need to know is this: your story does matter as well. Addressing and shifting your own experience of yourself is just as important as standing with your spouse's story. You need to understand how you got to where you are. And please understand that while the affair or the sexual addiction is yours to own, this is not the only part of your story. It's not the end. This happened, and yes, you can't go back in the past and you cannot change it. But there are things that can change. And one is you. And you can change your future. You can also help your partner to create a brand new relationship with you. You can help them heal as well. And your partner, your spouse, and you can move forward without the need of fear and secrecy. Guilt, yes, you're going to deal with that. And again, you need to, but you don't need to live under that kind of condemnation. Guilt is there because your actions have wounded your spouse. And that's a part of the consequence. But it doesn't need to become a part of the story of shame. Shame is something that the enemy wants you to live under, but God wants to set you free from that. And by repenting of the sexual addiction, repenting of the pornography use, repenting of the affair, of the sexual indiscretions that you've lived in, the sexual sin, by repenting of these things and truly in remorse, seeking forgiveness from God first and then from your spouse, and truly turning, taking a complete 180, doing the recovery work, walking in integrity, seeking to build new character and have purity in heart, walking in full honesty and transparency, helping your spouse to rebuild trust. This can be your story. It can create a brand new life for yourself, for your spouse, and a brand new relationship. Now, I will tell you this. This journey requires courage and change from you and from your spouse. You need to put yourself in your spouse's shoes. That is what empathy is. Being able to walk in their shoes, feel their pain, know what it's like, experience your own emotions so that you can come to the conclusion of what led you to cross your own moral boundaries in the first place so that you can heal in recovery. Then you can unpack and rebuild the relationship. But this will take time and effort. But it is possible because with God, all things are possible. Imagine, if you will, a beautiful brand new relationship where the two of you have chosen to own your personal issues, the triggers, You've taken time to hear one another, to understand and see one another. You grow in your willingness to be yourselves and to be a couple. You've chosen to recover and you've chosen to become brand new. Can this happen? Absolutely. And God has a way for you to do that. And I would be so honored to lead you through that process. So my question for you is this. If you could have that type of relationship, would the rewards outweigh the cost? In other words, is it going to cost you something to walk through recovery and seek to rebuild a relationship after betrayal? Absolutely it will. I can tell you that because I've done it. My husband and I worked very diligently after his betrayal. After he had a 2.5-year affair, we worked hard and still are working daily to make sure that we have the marriage that we so desire. Is it worth it? 100%. Would it be worth it to wade through the dark, miry waters of betrayal, the quicksand, sometimes getting stuck and sometimes being able to run through, being able to wade through all the fears, the lost trust, the missing pieces, the unspoken wounds and hurts, so that you could build a brand new future together? I believe it is. But in the end, this is a question only you and your spouse can answer. So I would love for you to have that conversation with your spouse. Let them know that you've listened to this podcast. They might have shared it with you, or you might have just come across it yourself. And if this has helped you, leave us a review. We'd love a 5-star review. It keeps us out so that everyone who needs this can get it. But have the conversation with your spouse. And if you're ready to move forward from the devastating effects of betrayal, I would be honored to help you do so. Go below in the show notes, grab yourself a consult, and let's get you started. I pray this helped you today, and I pray that it catapults you into your journey of recovery from betrayal. Be blessed. Thanks for stopping by today and spending a little while with me. I hope you enjoyed today's show and found hope, healing, and encouragement. Please remember to subscribe to my podcast and leave a review. You can even screenshot this episode and share it on IG or Facebook stories. This is how we get the message of hope and healing out to all women who are in the midst of betrayal and loss. If you're ready to move out of the devastation of betrayal and take the next step in your healing, make sure to reach out to me and schedule your breakthrough coaching call today. Until next time, love God, live your life passionately, and always choose joy in the midst of any circumstance that you may face. Cheers to you, beautiful.